Hey everybody, welcome to Week in Review, where we take a look at all the videos we did here on the Dice Tower for the past week. And it's just kind of an index of sorts, where if you want to see more about it, you click the link in the description below. Here we go.
Hey everybody, Zee Garcia here. So last week I did my Unsung Gems video for the letter B, games that start with a B that I think deserve more recognition and attention. And then I reviewed a couple of things. So I reviewed a game called, I think, Rollecate, which is, I gave a 6 out of 10. This is a push your luck game that's very esoteric. You are playing cards, you're rolling dice, doing some pushing your luck. It mostly feels like the game pairs, because the main sort of thing you are doing is either pushing your luck and seeing if you hopefully don't bust, or choosing to bust for a less sort of nasty penalty. The game has real swinginess to it, though, where you might one moment have a penalty pile of a whole bunch of points, and 2 turns later, that has vanished, because you can just, put a card on top of the same value and they disappear. So, it's a little too swingy, and it feels sort of counterintuitive. The other thing I reviewed is RiverSide, which I rate an 8 out of 10, and this is a very neat roll and write style game in which you are going down a river and then back up on the other side and loading up passengers, taking them on little excursions along the way, and scoring for a few different things. The game has a decent amount going on for a roll and write style game. It's certainly not a heavy one. There are plenty that are quite in depth, but this is also, I would not say, the first one you want to show to somebody. It's got a nice amount going on, and it's one of those games where the scores balloon up into the hundreds. So you're going to be getting 38 points from this one area, 47 from this other area, and you are adding, and then the lowest, you double that score, and you're doing all these things. So I like it. I think it's got a cool amount of stuff going on, but you want to be an aficionado of the genre, or just, be captivated by this one. So I liked it. It gets an 8 out of 10. And that's going to do it for me. I will see you on the next one.
Hey everyone, Chris Yee here. I did 3 videos this week, the first of which was the 4 Squares review of My Farm Shop. This is a game that I gave a 6 out of 10. I found it to be fun, but also kind of repetitive, and I thought that the promise of being able to separate the dice, one for a card selection and the other 2 for card activation, I thought that was going to have more potential than it actually did. I think it was fine, it was good, but it was a little bit repetitive. And I think the other people at the table enjoyed it more than I did whenever we played, but for me, 6 out of 10. Next up, I looked at the 2 solo modes for the castle between 2 castles of Mad King Ludwig. This comes in the Secrets and Soirees expansion. So for a solo perspective, I gave this one a 6.5 out of 10 because I found it to be competent and good and well done. There's actually 2 solo modes in the box. One is where you build your own castle, and the other you sit between 2 castles, like in the regular game. And there's 2 atamas, so you're building 3 castles around the table. And I find that I liked that one a little bit more, but it's also a little bit more administration. I think it's good. The biggest thing that holds it back from being a more of a recommendation from me is the fact that you need to buy the base game, really enjoy it, want to buy the expansion, really enjoy that, and want to play it solo. So it's a little bit too much, I think, for entry. The last review that I did was between 2 Castles of Mad King Ludwig, Secrets and Soirees expansion. So that's the expansion review for 2 to 8 players. I find that I quite enjoy this expansion. I think it's good. I think it's competent and well made. It isn't too much of a wow expansion. It's just a little bit more stuff. It integrates really well. In fact, you cannot even disintegrate it. It's really hard to pull out the expansion if you want. So once you throw it in there, it's in there, and that's that. Good expansion. Gave it a 7 out of 10 because it's good, but it didn't wow me, and I feel like that new room types add to how easy it is to get the diversity bonuses. But overall, I liked it, and if you really enjoy the game, you might like the variety that it throws in. So that's been my week.
Hey there everybody, it's Mike DiLisio, and this week I reviewed 2 games. First, I was part of a 4 Square review for My Farm Shop. This is a dice rolling and resource gathering game. I was not a big fan of this game. I gave this a 5 out of 10. I felt like it was similar to other games that are out there, things like Machi Koro or Space Base or Valeria Card Kingdoms, but I don't feel like it did it as well as any of them. It, to me, looked like it was being marketed as a children's game, but had some kind of gamery rules that didn't really work well for me. So that one's a pass on my end. I also reviewed the solo mode for Imperium, both Classics and Legends. It works for both. This is a fantastic solo deck building game with a really clever bot system, and you can play it as a campaign. This I gave an 8.5 out of 10 and a seal of excellence. This is one of my favorite solo deck building games out there, and it's going to be in my running for top solo games of this year for sure. All right, well, that's it for me this week. Let's keep it moving.
All right, a lot of good reviews this week from me and a lot of bad ones. In fact, the bad ones I mostly compiled together into 7 no good games. Games that I didn't really enjoy a lot. And you can kind of see them in all there. All the rankings for those are 5 or below in that. Then I also did a trio of 3 roll and write games together. Lost Cities, the roll and write game, which is not nearly as good as the card game, a 5 out of 10. Torpedo Dice, which it feels more constrictive as the game goes by, a 5.5. And Clever Cubed, which is probably taken on its own. It might be a higher rating, but considering there's 2 games out here, this just feels like a repeat of the previous 2, so I gave it a 6. Power Rangers deck building game. This is a deck building game from Matt Hyra, who did a lot of very popular games like the DC deck building game. This one is a 1 versus 1, or 2 against 2, or 2 against 1. I think it's best 1 against 1. It's very, very strongly Power Rangers themed. You know, where your cards are going to turn into Power Rangers. You get your Zords and they turn into whatever the Megazord is. That's all cool and everything. But it's, for me, the rest of the game was just okay. So I gave it a 6. Hungry Hugo. This is a 6 for kids, a fun little game for kids where you're running this gorilla around and he smashes decorations in front of other people's huts down. My Farm Shop. We all put this one together as a group here. I like the concept of this a lot. Rolling dice. It's a little clunky in the die rolling mechanism. I felt like there was just that's what's keeping me from making the game higher. And also the advanced versions, or one of the variants, really didn't add anything to the game, which I was disappointed about. But the rest of it's fine. There is Machikoro and a Space Base out there competing with this, but it was a good game. So I gave it a 7. 60 Second City, a nice 2-player game, back and forth. Where you're cooperating together to build a city, flipping tiles as fast as you can over 5 60-second rounds. Nice components, and I enjoyed it. A 7. Chronicles of Drunagor I reviewed with my kids, and you can see I gave it an 8, and I'm the lowest. They gave it 8.5 and a 9. But this is a huge dungeon crawl game. A little too big, a lot to set up. A little unnecessary terrain, although it looks cool, with some gimmicks like a door. But man, the main conceit of the game, which is using cubes to take different actions, and the very, very, very asymmetrical characters, makes this one really fun to play. I also took a look at the classic Clue the Great Museum Caper. Clue I might give a 5 to, maybe at best. This one you can see as an 8, because Clue the Great Museum Caper is like a light Scotland Yard. Oversized box, but really fun theme as one person's stealing paintings and everyone else is trying to stop them. I took a look at the Great Wall from Awakened Realms. This is a Euro game where you're placing workers and defending the wall together, but one person's going to win. Amazing production. Really entertaining. A smidge too long, but even despite that, it is a fantastic game. 8.5. And then Agropolis. This is another 8.5 for me. This is a solo game. I like solo games a lot. Yeah, okay, you caught me. I'm kind of mediocre on solo games, but this one, even though this one goes 1 to 4, I consider it a solo game. The sequel to Sprawlopolis really, really is fantastic. A puzzle-style game, 18 cards, a ton of game in there. I also took a look at 2 more shelves in the Dice Tower library. Together, me, Mike, and Zee took a look at our top 10 advanced 2-player games. We did 5 more great games. We did crowd surfing, look back. We did 2 game playthroughs this past week. So there's a lot of videos for you to check out. Like I said, the links are in the description below. Until next time, though, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching Week in Review on the Dice Tower.